It is. It's coming up at 8 o'clock at night here in Star City, Russia. I'm delighted to have a chance to visit with you today. I spent the whole day in the simulator training for manually flying and docking with the space station. It was my final exam today in that. And then we had to bring a spaceship back from orbit this afternoon with all sorts of problems in some of my pressurized suit Soyuz training. So it's been a long, busy day, but I'm delighted to be kicking off the world tour of a chance to take pictures of me and my clone all around Canada. And I'm looking forward to, I think we have a dozen minutes together. I'd love to be able to try and answer any questions that you folks might have.
Well, that's great, and thank you for taking the time to spend time with us too. We actually at Science East have a few of those little guys, and they're going to be taking them around our province when we take our planetarium to different schools. We're all very excited to chat with you today and ask you some questions. We have some wonderful questions from some youth and adults in our community, and maybe even some aspiring astronauts here today. But our first question comes from Ethan McCarthy, and he is 7 years old. So I'll let him take the stage for a minute or so.
Question is, what is the coolest thing about space?
Ethan, that's a good question. What's the coolest thing about space? I think the coolest thing about space, Ethan, is being weightless. It's like you have a superpower. It's like magic. Imagine, Ethan, if you could just push off the floor and fly up into the sky. Or you could grab onto a car that's out in front of Science East and move it around with your hand. Or you could pick up two people in the audience and hold onto their ankles with your hands and wave them around. Being weightless is magic. And it's great exploring the universe. It's great using the space station as a laboratory, because it's like no laboratory anywhere else. It's wonderful seeing the world, but the coolest thing is being weightless.
Awesome. Good job, right? Okay, thank you. So our next question comes from Charlotte Flynn, and she is 8 years old.
What personal things are you bringing on this mission?
Thank you, Charlotte. Imagine if you were going to space. Imagine if someone said, Charlotte, 6 months from yesterday, you're going to ride a rocket ship and go to space for 6 months. You know, you want to know what you're doing, but also, it's nice to bring something with you. And Charlotte, I have 3 kids. That's why on my mission patch here, there are 3 stars, because there's 1 star for each one of my children. So I have 3 kids, and oh, here's a picture of my daughter. Anyway, I have 3 kids, and so I wanted to bring something for each of them. And so we're having, it can only be little though, because the spaceship is little. So we're having some special jewelry made. And also on my first flight, I had a watch that I won as a test pilot, and I flew it. On my second flight, I had a watch just like this one that I flew as my watch. And so those are for my 2 boys. And on my third flight, I'm going to fly a watch for my daughter. Because I think a watch is something you wear every day, and a watch is something you keep for a long time. And so that's a nice gift to remind my kids of, think about the miles that have gone on that watch, the thousands and thousands of kilometers. You know, Charlotte, when I'm in space this time, I'm going to go around the world 2,600 times around the world in 6 months. So I'm going to bring that. I'm bringing just a few small pieces of jewelry for my mom and my dad, and something for the Governor General of Canada, and something for some of the schools that I go to. You know, small emblems like, you know, like my name tag or something like that. Little things. They all have to fit in a little package, and so that I can bring them home again. And really, it's just so that people get a little touch of what it's like to go, and something as a nice reminder to think about some of the amazing things that have happened.
Good job, Kevin. Okay, thanks. So our next question is from Landon Toole, and he is also 7. Come on up here, Landon.
Do you think we will ever remain a mission to Mars or beyond?
Will people ever go to Mars? Will there be a manned mission to Mars? Absolutely, of course. You know, it's like saying 50 years ago, will there ever be a manned mission to the moon? Or 500 years ago, will anybody ever sail across the Atlantic? Or 120 years ago, will anybody ever go to Antarctica? So we take the best things that we can think of, the best inventions we can come up with, and then we use them to teach us new things, to take us new places, like trains and sailing ships, and then steamships and power ships and airplanes and rocket ships. Those let us go places and experience things as people that we could never do or see before. And the furthest we've gone so far is to the moon and back. But that's not because that's all we can do, it's just all we've done so far. And I won't go to Mars, I'll be too old. But you can go to Mars if you want. You don't have to. But when I was your age, it was impossible to be a Canadian astronaut. There was no such thing. But I decided when I was 9 years old that I wanted to be an astronaut. Because that's when I saw the very first people walk on the moon. Their names were Neil and Buzz. And when they walked on the moon that night, I said, I'm going to grow up to be something. Why don't I grow up to be that? That looks like a really interesting thing to do with my life. And it was impossible. But I figured, just because it's impossible now doesn't mean it's always going to be. And so now I've grown up and I've flown twice in space, and next year I'm going to command a spaceship. So yeah, I think it's absolutely possible and going to happen that we will have a manned or human mission to Mars and beyond. And we just have to pick the crew, so you might want to try and be on it.
So we have another question from someone like all of us who work here at Science East. We all consider ourselves young at heart as well. We have someone else, she's an adult, but she's young at heart like us as well. This is Karen Clark Orchard.
Of all the amazing sights you've seen from space, like the northern lights or storms, what is your favorite so far?
It really is amazing to see the whole world like that. We go around the world in an hour and a half. So, you know, you cross the Atlantic in the time it takes to brush your teeth and wash your face. You know, it's just incredible. You go across Canada, all the way from Victoria to Fredericton in 10 minutes. So you see so many things, every place you've ever dreamed about. And it's just so beautiful because the angle between you and the Earth and the Sun is constantly changing. So the shadows move and the lighting changes, and it's just beautiful. Probably the most beautiful thing I've seen was the Southern Lights while I was outside on a spacewalk, wearing a spacesuit like this one to protect me, but outside on a spacewalk like here, and to see, with all the lights off, to see the beauty of the Southern Lights coming up underneath my feet like a magic light show. That was beautiful. But the most magic thing that I saw was on my first space flight. We launched out of Florida. We've been flying in space for 2 days, and in the distance, a little star appeared, way just in the black emptiness of space. And then as we flew, the star slowly got bigger and bigger and bigger, and the star grew into a space station. There, out in the middle of the universe, was a place that we had built. And we carefully maneuvered our spaceship up and docked with it. And for me, in that huge emptiness of space, to see a little place for people one of the very first places for people beyond our Earth. To see that out there, it was beyond magic. It wasn't just a magic trick. It was like a little glimpse of what the future might be like. Of being able to leave Earth and go places where people have built structures, where Canadian arms have built structures, where people from all around the world live. To me, that was just like magic. It was hard to believe it was happening, even though I knew everything about it. So I think it's somewhere in between those two. Seeing a space station grow like magic in front of me, and spacewalking amongst the southern lights, with all the greens and the reds flowing along my legs. It was beautiful. I only have time maybe for one quick question, and then I'm talking to people in Halifax. So sorry I can't answer all your questions, so maybe there's time for one quick one.
All right, well, we have one more question, and I'd like to say thank you before I read it for taking the time to spend time with us today. This one is from someone who wasn't able to make it today. But they had a really good question, so we felt like we could ask this one for him to be happy with. This is from Ben Jameson, and he would like to know, what do you have to take in school to become an astronaut?
What do you have to take in school to become an astronaut? Well, you have to know about things, but most of the things you need to know they'll teach you. What they want to know is, if we're going to hire someone to be an astronaut, we want them to have proven their ability to learn hard things. Because you know, as an astronaut, you're going to have to learn so many different things, whether it's learning to speak Russian, or learning about orbital mechanics, or how to fly a spaceship, or how to fix everything, or do the science experiments. And so we wanted to try and choose astronauts that have shown that they can learn how to do things. And so what that means is, we look at people that already have shown that they can learn things with a university education and an advanced university education in something really technical. So most astronauts have at least a master's degree, or they have a PhD, and it's in engineering, or math, or physics, or medicine, or something like that. And it's not really all that critical what field. If you're going to think about it, all of you there, choose a field that's interesting to you. But what's important is to have proven your ability to learn, so that they know they're hiring the raw material that someday will be able to fly a spaceship and maybe walk on Mars on behalf of everybody else. Thank you very much for including me today. I'm really looking forward to seeing where our pictures show up around New Brunswick. Please take me somewhere fun. Hopefully I'll see the picture when I'm in orbit. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.